there is a thing for AWS. I'll go ahead and see if I can find it. Let me present here. Unless you guys have a something you want to talk about, what I want to talk about is the so user group plan. Actually, I think it's over here. So this needs to be put on the AWS website. If you want to, you can make a change. We need to have this. It's just behavior, scope, consequences. So behavior, importance. It's basically, just be friendly, and we're trying to do stuff across the board. We're not harassing or threatening anybody, and comply. I think that we can use that for our stuff, and we'd be in compliance. So with that said, let me pull this over. So I'm still working on this stuff. Let me make sure I don't have anything from my laptop. I don't. I'm still scanning the cameras, but I'm only doing it occasionally just to get the data. So we've got that, and then I'll just push that so I don't see that anymore. So that's pushed in to get. We could talk about the International Women's Day for a bit, but I think we got that kind of worked out in the first couple of meetings already. So I want to talk about the Pi Day, which I have to do. But if you guys have something you want to talk about, let me know. We'll just let you guys talk for a bit. You want to talk about
for the Women's Day? What are the dates that we're trying to host events so that we can start communicating that information and across GCP and AWS?
So they actually had dates that they were supposed to be doing, and let's see if this is it.
So I'm writing just important dates for March, I guess, is a better way of putting it. Yeah. When is this presentation supposed?
Okay. So in Okjay's world, it's whenever Okjay wants to do her thing, and she sends the note to Carissa to say, this is what we're going to do with the She Builds program, right? So that's Okjay. Okjay can speak to that. What I'm saying for Google, and we're on the AWS group now, but for Google, this presentation, which is external, it's not, this is just the material. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go through this, and I was hoping Okjay would help me, but if she wants to do the other thing, that's fine. And on this, it's how to build a model with Keras, and it's talking about, what a neural net is. But I have also got this over here. So in this thing, AWS has a class, and in that class, let's see. Oop. So we go. Guys, let's just say that. Hold on a second. So in the AWS, using this thing is hosted on AWS. They have a class on Coursera, Gluon, CV. That was my experience with MXNet. They also, it's not AWS, but there's a Berkeley class. The Berkeley class has all of this code. It's not in a GitHub repo. There's YouTube videos, and they basically teach deep learning with MXNet, PyTorch, and TensorFlow. I've looked at some of their stuff, and I'll show. And so, like this notebook here is somewhat a type along with that, but they have yet another repo, which I believe I looked at it a little bit, all, and it's like on MXNet, and I took some notes there. So these pictures here were pulled from their presentation. So if you know anything about it, here saying it's a sum, blah, 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 linear combination of inputs and weights. Do I put that there? No, it's not there. I thought I did some of that. I guess I just have the loss function and the various activation functions. The only reason I put this up there for the activation functions is the I saw a question that came on a quiz, and I was like, I know sigmoid, tanh, and relu, but I was like, I thought sigmoid was -1 to 1. Turns out it's 0. I didn't realize that. And the relu is actually used more because it's simpler. And in both, even though it's linear over here and it's linear over there, when you combine them, it's non-linear, right? And the whole thing is, if you have a DNN, you don't want to mark down notes for GitHub or here. Let's see what that is. Oh no, that's just like how to do Markdown. The if you make a DNN, it's without an activation function that's non-linear. It doesn't matter how many layers you have; they would all combine down to a single layer, and that's just what I'm saying there. And so I was just trying to show you what it is. But the bottom line is, this thing, if we go through and do it for the International Women's Day for Google, it will be similar to the um, deep learning crash course from Google, which is this. Literally, like if you were to look at this class, which we did as a one time we had a dev fest a long time ago. Me and Burris, can't remember Burris's first name at the moment, but Burris and I, we did this, and it's very similar to what they're doing here. And I'm thinking that we could do that for Google and then do the equivalent for MXNet, because here is AWS.
So when would we do that presentation? I think this all sound it's a good plan. When would we do it? If we're gonna do the quick lab next Sunday, would it be the Sunday after that? Is that okay to do it in the second half of March? Today's the 6th. So the 13th would be the quick lab, and then it'd be the 20th, March 20th.
So okay, yes and no. So here's the deal. I've got to do so open a
You have the icy bridge thing too on the 14th.
Yeah. So on, do they have, I don't think it's on OpenAI. It's let's do this. LinkedIn. It is Perrin. John George. Let's see. All right, so like I'm supposed to do this, and I haven't even done that. Okay, so it's his thing right here. So see how they got all these people up here? They don't have a picture of me. They don't have a picture of me because I'm Slack. Okay, but you can't pick a link there. So it's AIDAUG.org. I thought it was Open AI, but it's the AI users group. And there's something here. So events. So it's March 14th. If you haven't registered, you ought to register. I don't see anything there. So this guy right here, he's like a IBM fellow or something. He's a really cool guy. He's written a couple of books on Spark, and I recommend. He's a cool guy. He used to run the Spark users group, which was here in RTP. Can't say anything. I mean, there's not. I can't say enough about him. He's a cool guy. But with that said, so I've got to prepare for that, and what I want to do is get back on the icy bridge and the MXNet and do that. But that's kind of similar to what the Google International Women's Day thing is and the AWS Women's Day. So for a date, the only date I can say is March 14th, and then after that would be Okjay's date, whatever she wants to have as a date. And then after that, maybe sometime in April, would be the one for Google IWD and the one for AWS IWD. And I figure we hit the Google one first because we just have to go do that presentation. We literally just have to take this and convert this into Colab, right? But AWS doesn't have collabs. They have that SageMaker Studio. And like, if you go to a collab, you can immediately go to it, right? With SageMaker Studio, I don't think they'll be able to work along.
Yeah,
Like,
we'd have to like put it into a notebook and then just clone it into SageMaker Studio. That might
yeah.
work.
So I think whatever. I mean, I don't know enough about this, but it's there's stuff on there to do, and we'll figure it out. But it's like it's longer term down the road. And so with MXNet, let me show you where I'm at. Um, this is a aware condition. It's kind of like you can do. I don't know what they're doing here. Maybe when I left this, I left it right here because I was like, I don't understand that syntax. Maybe you guys can help me. But basically, here are two arrays, right? And then he's setting a condition, and then he's setting up the where. So this is the condition here. Here are the two arrays, which are real, they call them tensors, whatever. And then he's picking these things out. So he's picking 5, 2, 3, and 8 based upon 0, 1, -1, and 0. So let's look. So 0 is picking from the first element, I guess, or the Y element, and this is picking from the other one. But -1 also picks from that one. And then 0 picks. I guess I need to write it down, but there's that. And then I found there's another guy. Let me pull this up. And we'll add this to some code and we'll play with it to try and experiment. Let me find my. There's also this, by the way, there's this Ukraine Global Task Force. I went over there with those guys, uh, but that didn't really work out, so I backed out of those guys. But where is this? This is it. So this guy here, he's the guy that taught the class at Coursera. So, and he did a where. So and this actually makes sense a little bit. So let's copy that. We'll have that copied, and we'll start up the notebook, and we'll try to do some of this code. Let me see where it's at. Sorry, I'm not prepped fully for all this. Hold on a second. But why did I even have to go to that directory? Did I want to make sure I can get the files that are in that notebook? So this started out as like a type along, and then basically as I'm trying to learn the APIs, I'm trying to put them all in one spot. And I've got some of that where stuff in here. This is all it's all up in the thing. So here's the where code. All right, so Control V. All right, so let's run. I guess just run, restart and run all. Okay, and
John, can you put the link on the chat so that we can also?
Yeah. So this one right here.
Oh yeah, this one. Thanks.
Okay, and then this is the API. Part of the reason I'm also doing this, I was trying to show last week. If you go up to these pages, I'm on the 1.8, even though I'm using 1.9. The 1.9, which is at this level, doesn't have the docs, and they're like really, really slow. It's like if you click the link, it takes it a while to come up. So that's why I'm actually also doing it here, because that way I can look it up a little faster. So let's see what he's doing. So just to kind of make it the same, he's doing, this is his condition, but he's interesting. So he's calling it labels, and he's not having to specify the condition, but this, and then there he's just saying like X equals. I could do the same thing here. I don't know how to do. See if that works. Okay, can't do that. I think let's look and see if that matches what he had as his output. Yes, it does. And I just want to see if I can do this as well. Yep. And then imagine if you were to do like this, will that work? Oh, all right. I don't know how to specify labels as something. So I guess he's just doing. Hello, Shaquille. How you doing? You're muted. Shaquille, can you hear me? Shaquille Khan, you're muted. Hello, how are you there? Hey. Hello, Shaquille. You can type in the chat if your audio doesn't work. Welcome. You've never. We're just like a AWS workshop, and we're just working on what do you call it? Working on MXNet at the moment. But you can, if you type in that little chat, we can see you typing. So all we're doing is we're looking at, this is one of the developers from MXNet, and he did a thing on where. So we're just trying to figure this thing out. So let's kind of look at what labels is. So labels is an array. It's an ND array. He's got some stuff there. So he's only looking at where it's not 0 to 1. And then he's pulling, these are the values, okay? So let's go ahead and do this again. Illegal. Yeah, that's where I was trying to use the conditions. So he's pulling this value. Oh, okay, so this is a little weird. He's saying -1 based upon this, but he's actually pulling -1 down. I thought he was going to just use that to select these values. So it doesn't really matter. All of those are not -1. So he's pulling. So let's try to figure this out a little bit better. So kind of merges. I guess that wasn't very interested. It's like kind of merges X and Y tensors, pulling. Actually, he's merging. Yeah, well, pulling Y and condition is not met. Pulling X when met. That might clear up. That's what he's doing, huh? So up here, let's look at, this was the example from, okay, pardon me. This is my example, the example that I added. So I just made a 3x3, and yeah, so this is my 3x3 where I've got zeros, and then I had Y as all zeros, and it was like, I'm just getting, I put in X and X in both cases, and I got out, it didn't really matter what I put in there, I'm getting out X. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, so it was, I was saying, like, I was like, I don't understand this, it doesn't matter, but I guess that's because I'm using the both values, because down here it looks like he's going to pull from X or Y irregardless of what the label is. So the actual example that they have, let me do a couple of pluses here. Because the original example I had was this. Let's try to go back and do this again. This is where? No. That's the element. By the way, you see how this says element 0 index? But he's using pick. So this is another thing that's kind of weird. This is the API name is called this, but he's using the example from pick because it turns out this API is exactly the same for both of them. And this is what that's not even the that's not it either. So is this the where one? Nope. Where do I have where originally? Let's concat. There we go. Okay, so this is the original one. Let's look at theirs for a second. The reason I'm interested in doing this, I'll show you the code where I'll show you why I'm doing it in a second. So he's using a regular array, which is not an ND array. This CSR, this casting of storage, I don't really understand about that, but we'll see if we can get that to work. Let's here in a second. See if this one works. Yeah. So that's another problem with this code. They don't always work. So let's see why this doesn't work. So condition works. X and Y should work. And assign to a function. Oh, okay. And so once again, the other thing is their examples show this is why it's not working. For whatever reason, they show it like that. Should return Control V. My bad. Hold on a second. So their code is so weird. What are they doing again? Doing. This is mxdet.nd array, and I'm doing an nd where. Why does that not work? That's what I did the first time. Okay. There we go. Okay. So just looking at this for a second. This is 1, 2. This is 3 comma 4. This is 5 comma 6. 8. I wish I had something I could show you better. And then he's saying he's pulling this one and then that one. No, pardon me. 0, 1, -1, 0. So he's pulling. So the first. So what? The 0 pulls. 0 pulls Y. 1 pulls. One is pulling X. -1 pulls X. 0 pulls the 8 is from Y. It's like they're pulling in the same position. Same position. I'm not sure what the cast is. I don't even know what these things. I don't know what the CSR stuff is, but all right. So let me back it up. Why is this important to me? So there is this rotate 7 code. Just run it all for a second. So the original camera angles I have were not square, and I kind of showed this last time. It's in another notebook, whatever. It's trying to show like I need to rotate the images, and I want to rotate the images with MXNet, but I ran into a problem where if the images are not square, and so I was like, oh, I could do all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. And basically what I did was I was like, okay, skip that. Let me just make the images square. And I did it. So now you can rotate. So like I got this picture, I can convert it to grayscale, put it in the batch. Because it's rectangular, I just added some black pixels and then I rotated it. But if I try to rotate it 45 degrees, I have a problem because this will be up in an area where there's not anything. So that's one problem. Another problem is if I do rotate it, then I have to remove these pixels. And so that trying to remove the pixels was I was trying to come up with a way to do that without doing like Python loops. I'm trying to stay in in MXNet. And if you like look at this code over here, you can see that for there's no loops here, right? No loops there. If you look in the actual rotate code. The rotate code is taking a batch. There's no loops. The only loop here is saying for the batch, right? So this is the iterator of the batch of images, but currently, just to make my life simpler, I'm only doing one at a time, and I'm not like breaking the image up, but it's all rotated using their API, right? And basically the transform is up here someplace. Let's see. Where's the dot? This is the rotate, right? Yeah. So based upon, I'm trying to do a matrix multiply, but if you just multiply them, it's going to be like an element wise. I have to do like a matrix multiply, and the way to do that is you use the dot, and so that's why you see this, right? And then it's the indices, and then I have to pull from the indices the pixel values to put back in the right places, and that's what's going on here. So it's saying here are the new indices for all rows, but for column 0 and 1, and it's doing it back. And then I just reshape it, and that works. But now, in the make square, it's the same thing. There's no ifs. However, there is one if, and I just couldn't get around it. And then there is one while loop, which I don't want to do, but it turns out there is a contrib API that has a while loop. And the reason you want to do that is you want to keep, this is like a graph programming language, and you want to keep the graph valid, because once you go into like a GPU, it can parallel it for you. And so that's kind of the goal. But anyway, so back over here, what I'm trying to do here is say, like, do a cumulative sum, and I will be able to find the zeros. So here's an array that's 3 by 3. If I do a cumulative sum, I can say, okay, the first row, the cumulative sum is 0, 1, 2, because you're just adding it to itself. The next one is the addition of this and this, 3, 5, 7. If you were to do that where you had some zeros in it, which is like this, if you did the cumulative sum where that whole row of zeros is added, that would give you a 0 at the very end, right? And then I was hoping to say, okay, for a vector that's like this, and you've got a 0, then I want to pull out the values. But it kind of, and I didn't really understand how to do that thing. And what worries me is now even if you use X and Y, he always pulls from X and Y. That's going to be kind of awkward, but we'll
I sent a link. There is an equivalent in NumPy. Basically, I think MXNet uses NumPy, whatever.
Yeah, they do a lot. So let's look at it. Let's take a look. So
that has a better description, I believe. I mean, it was easy to understand for me.
Yeah, let's see what you got here.
So if you look at the true false situation.
Which one?
So this one, NumPy where true false. So when it's true, just below that, yep, this one. Next.
This one, yeah.
This one, yeah. So when it's true, it picks from the X. That is picking 1. When it's false, it picks 8. Yep. It's picking from Y array.
Here he's doing. Cool. Yeah, they do pick a lot of stuff from NumPy for sure. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about looking at this one though.
If you look at the description, I think it's, they have a better description than MXNet, I thought, like when only condition is provided. Oh, where is the
Where
condition?
true yield X, otherwise yield Y. Yeah. What did they say?
It's the same. I mean, I tried the same value. It's the same answer.
Yeah, return the elements either from X or Y depending upon the condition given 3 arrays. It's like John Davis wrote that. Rather than saying something very simple, he made it like really complex, like verbose. All right, so it's like it's where it's true. And is that what we were looking at up here? So, and it's the same. So this is true, right?
So 1 is true and 0 is false. -1 is false, obviously. Right?
Yeah, but he pulled from X. So
Wait.
I guess what they're saying is only, okay, so true, pull X -1 is non-zero. So true, pull X, 0 is false. Pull Y. And then when we were down here, if we were to take this code, one of the things I was wanting to do is have the same labels. Oops. So if I were to, so we'll keep labels as is, and we'll just make this, actually, let's do this. We don't need that. So we put some zeros in here. You can't filter them at all because they're just zeros. But even if I were to say like I wanted to have X and Y, I would still get zeros. That ain't gonna. I was gonna say like class labels here. So, that ain't gonna work. All right, never mind. Thinking on my feet is not very effective. All right, well, I mean, I'll have to look at it some more, figure it out. But at least that's good. We got like 5 minutes. That's where I'm at. I'll try to fix this up some, and then start working on that presentation tomorrow. I don't have anything else to do. But that's where I'm at. It's not very good. I will, if you want, since J is back, I will stop streaming.